As people of African descent, we offer this land recognition in solidarity with the indigenous people of Turtle Island in the efforts and deliberate intentions towards decolonization. We acknowledge the land of Turtle Island that was never meant to be owned. We recognize that most of the land that was entrusted to indigenous peoples was in some cases shared by choice, but all too often taken by force. We recognize that historical colonialism and the ongoing colonialism that has led to present-day situation where land acknowledgements are offered in place of land. As people of African descent, many of us have come here by choice, while many are here as a result of historical force. We acknowledge the complexities where we were promised land that was never given by those whose it never was to give. As people of African descent, we acknowledge the land of Turtle Island that sustains us, express deep gratitude to indigenous peoples, and pledge to honor the dignity and divinity that ultimately connects us all. Without further ado, I'll let this beautiful set of panelists introduce each other. Do you guys have your questions? Kelsey, I need the questions. We will get you your questions during your introductions.
This is fantastic. It's wonderful seeing you all. It's a beautiful thing, so thank you, Nicole, for inviting me. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Gordon. I am a partner with Ernst & Young, EY, the accounting firm here in Toronto, Canada. I'm originally from London, England. You can probably hear that and tell that from my accent. I've been here for 15 years. I lead in our what we call our people advisory service practice, which is a consulting practice that supports companies with talent and their talent agenda. And aside from that, I also lead in the entrepreneurial space. So I lead our Entrepreneur of the Year Award program for Ontario, and I also lead what we call the Entrepreneurial Access Network, which is an accelerator program for Black and Indigenous entrepreneurs across the country to really help them, support them, accelerate their business. And I'm proud to have Nicole as one of our members of that program, and she's a wonderful contributor to that. Thank you. Tania.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So hi, everybody. My name's Tania Clarke. I am a CPA, Canadian and U.S. I am currently what you would call semi-retired. I sit on the boards of the BDC, so the Business Development Bank of Canada, Jameson Wellness, Futurepreneur, and the McGill University Health Center Foundation. And I'm so happy to be here. I've known Nicole since she was born. So very close ties with the Antoine family. And I'm very happy to be on this panel, and hopefully we can share and exchange together today.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to be here. Anytime Nicole asks me if there's anything I can do to support her, the answer is yes, before I even know what it is that she needs. So thank you so much for, one, that land acknowledgement. I don't think I've ever been so moved by one and so connected to one. So thank you so much for that intentionality. My name is Laura. Laura Wilson-Lewis. I am an entertainment lawyer in Toronto. Nicole and I met when I was in private practice. I had my own firm for a few years, and then I joined a entertainment firm in Toronto, and now I work in-house at a major record label, which is publicly traded, so my views are my own. And nothing that I'm saying today will constitute legal advice, so we had to get all of that out of the way. So happy to be here, so happy to chat.
My name is Troy Crossfield. First of all, everybody looks beautiful in the room, man. Like, give yourselves a round of applause. I'm the CEO of Crossfield House Productions. I am a filmmaker, writer, director. I don't have the luxury of doing one thing. Some of my business partners are in the room. Beautiful black women, Adila Carter and Tisha Reed are here as well too. And I'm also a songwriter signed to Sony Music in the US. And yeah, I have a men's group called Iron Sharpens Iron, where pretty much that's what it is. And yeah, I'm thankful to be here today with y'all.
are on its way. I can say them, or you guys can like.
Let's do
I
it.
can read them.
We can chop it up.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
chop it up.
Yeah.
It's a conversation.
So let's chat.
Pivoting.
What? Listen, we could do it.
Yeah,
So
thank you. So let's say the first question, and then we.
I got it. I got it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. In what ways can open and vulnerable conversations about finances help individuals and Black communities overcome financial challenges? Who wants to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's a really powerful question, and I think one thing we have to recognize, or at least I acknowledge, is that we're not all in the same space, right? We're not all at the same stage on our financial, whether call it wellness journey, whether call it wealth building, whether call it generational wealth building journey. But I do think what is important within our community in particular is the sharing of knowledge. I think that's so important, and I'm thankful for this space for us to have these conversations, because my own personal journey, I'm a partner of this massive firm, and I lead all this stuff, and there's all this numbers behind it and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But I've made so many mistakes on my journey because I was the first in my family to step into the space that I'm occupying now. And it's a privilege to occupy that space. But I didn't have the supports around me, the community like this one and others, and I didn't know where to go for that. So I made some big mistakes early on that now I've recovered from, but I would be in a different place had I not made those mistakes. So I think it's really important to be very intentional, to build community, to have real conversation about the mistakes that you made, right? And so I've made some really bad investment decisions just because I wasn't armed with the knowledge, right? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, information. And so it's important that we actually get the knowledge that's required. So this space is one of those, but there are other spaces that we need to get into and really drive that understanding. I'll hand over.
So just to add to that, I think Chris raised a very important point, and I think we need to acknowledge as a community. So, okay, I'll just give a little bit of background. There's so many thoughts going through my brain, and if those that know me very well, my head is like a million and one thoughts. But there's a couple of issues that the Black community has. We don't all come from the same source, so whether you're Canadian, you're Caribbean, you're African, we come with different values. There's generally, and I'm going to generalize, and as a minority female corporate person, I don't like the idea of generalizations, but I'm going to do it for this purpose because, like Chris was saying, everyone's coming from a different place. But we generally are fearful of money, so we don't necessarily go ask the questions. And what I will say to you, the one gift my parents have given me and my family is that be curious. And that means be curious about your financial, not just the the looks. So we're okay to be curious about how we look, the hair, the makeup, the exercise, the health, which is very good for you, but your financial health is extremely important because that is the baseline that's going to move you to next. Whatever that next may be. You may not want to be in, let's say, home ownership. You may want to just invest, but you need money to make money. So how do you find money, and how do you set up your situation such that you always have choices? Choices, whether it's you're going from a professional career perspective or from an entrepreneurial viewpoint, it's about choices. How do you get choices? And I'm simplifying, but how do you get choices is that you make sure that you show up, you ask the questions, you get the information. If you don't know, find somebody in your network that does know. And if it's not in your network, still find that person, your bank manager, your neighbor, ask. And that'll advance you forward. And I can go on with this topic, but I will pass it on to my fellow panelists.
Well, it's interesting because I deal with vulnerability every month with the Black men's group that I started, Iron Sharpens Iron. And one of the conversations is, well, multiple conversations, but one of the conversations is about financial wealth and guidance and stuff, because a lot of us weren't given the tools. You know, our parents came from, well, my parents, they came from other islands to survive so that I can dream, so that now my kids can, you know, hopefully have a future off of that. But I was just having this conversation the other day. My mother would be pushing my sisters to go to university and me to work. You know, man must work, man must do work, you know what I mean, get a truck job, whatever. So financial literacy wasn't something that she knew about. You know, unfortunately. So now we have to like break down those barriers for our children. So now it's just like, I'm like relearning things as I'm getting older. You know, I have 2 children, so I want to make sure that they, you know what I mean, that their education, you know, they're going to have something. Thank you so much. They're going to have something to have when they're in university, putting away money for their education. And now I'm telling brothers to do the same for their children as well, too, because we have to get out of survival mode and into wealth mode. You know, we have to start changing our mindsets, you know, which is very important. And it starts, you know, I'm sorry, I know we're in this whole new narrative. You can't say certain things, but in my home, the man is the leader. You know, and if the leader wasn't given the tools, if I didn't have my father in my life, so I didn't have the tools that I needed. So now I got to make sure my son has his tools and my daughter has her tools, because I'm not going to have my boy out there looking like no idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we just need to change the narrative and stuff like that. And it just starts really starts with how we think, and then passing on the information. And now I'm able to pass on the information to other brothers as well too, in terms of like crypto trading, like, you know, setting up workshops and stuff like that. Like, we're literally doing things that we've never seen before. And even me as a father, I'm doing things that I've never seen before. So anyways, I can go on all day, so I'll stop here.
Wow, it's really, really challenging to answer this question last, because there's so many things that have already been said, but that I kind of want, so many things swirling around in my head. So just get to it, right? So we've heard mistakes, we've heard curiosity, we've heard vulnerability, knowledge, lack of knowledge. I think it's all of those things together, and I'm going to add shame in there. Mm-hmm. We have made people, you know, people in our community, whether it's you know, ourselves, people we know, we have made, on occasion, some poor financial decisions, and it might be because of lack of knowledge. It might be because, you know, we were ill-advised. It might be because a host of reasons, survival, so many reasons. Having these vulnerable conversations in our community allows us to remove that shame. It allows us to identify it, because sometimes we have this feeling and we don't know that that feeling is shame. But when we're able to have these conversations, and it's like, oh, Chris, you made a bad financial decision too? I did too. And we can feel more comfortable knowing that we're not the only ones who have been in a situation that was undesirable, and see a path forward. And so, you know, when we identify it, when we name it and claim it, we can move beyond it and empower ourselves with community, with the information, with the tools that we need to feel like, okay, maybe I should have invested yesterday. Yesterday was the best time to invest. The next best time is today. You have not run out of time. Even if you've made bad decisions, even if you don't have information, you have time to make a good decision. You have time to get information, make an informed decision. And it's okay to make a bad decision, even if you have the information. Just walk away from the shame. You don't have to hold on to it, because whether you realize it or not, that is one thing that's holding you back.
Brilliant. Question 2 is, how does estate planning and intergenerational wealth transfer fit into the conversation about building a lasting legacy?
Okay, I take it?
Yes, please.
So legacy to me, and actually we talked about it, the panel, our little pre-panel meeting, means different things to different people. So you can talk financial, so that's just basically, you know, what you can pass down. Or like my parents, I think similar to yours, my parents hail from Barbados. Their goal was, my father was an educator, so he was not a 6-figure income individual. He was very much in community work. lifelong, pass that on to us. So to me, the passing on the community and the importance of giving back to your community and being involved in your community. So to have these sort of exchanges that may address the shame that involves is part of his legacy. In addition to that, the focus on education as a young black female, absolutely. And I say female, not because I'm gendered. It's just that we were 3 girls. He had no boys. So it was all about how am I going to, my dad's mindset was, I want my daughters to go out in the world and not be dependent, no disrespect to any male here, on any man. Because what he had seen in his generation of women that were dependent on men were not doing right by them. So legacy is a big word, and legacy could be dollars. And yes, you know, I said it before, how you make money with money. So you have assets, however you build them in a home and investments, and you build upon it and you manage your expenses. But there is also the personal sort of legacies, as I was mentioning, the education, the values, the mindset, the community. And I won't say it all. I'll leave the rest to you.
Yeah, and I'll just jump off of that. When I think about, you know, estate planning, intergenerational wealth, I think about the lack of insurance in our community. I used to see my W boys in high school driving cars and all that. I'm like, how the heck did y'all have cars in high school? This is so weird to me. But like, you found out that like things were passed down to them. You know, a lot of us, unfortunately, in the room, what was passed down to us was generational trauma and just making it and, you know, just barely surviving, you know. So I think it's important now that we're in this age that we can actually talk about this stuff. And another thing for, you know, that's for me is important when it comes to legacy is faith, you know, what I'm passing on to my children. Because I feel like faith is also something that's been missing in our society. We want to talk about universe and all this kind of stuff, but I talk about God. You know what I mean? For me, I talk about Jesus in my life. You know, my children, like, that's going to be their legacy for them. Like, yo, my father actually believed because I saw my father fail. And I failed many times as well, too. So it's what I'm going to leave to my children. And also not even just my children, my brother's children's. You know what I mean? Like, the brothers around me as well, too. We're, like, changing these narratives now, you know, because I'm sorry, there's a lot of soft life conversations. And they want to live that soft life. But the brothers are living a hard life, you know what I mean? And they a lot of them don't know themselves, you know, and because of what has been passed down to them. So I'm just trying to like shift the narrative, what I'm passing to my brothers right now, and what we're passing to our sons and our daughters as well too. Just a whole, once again, a mindset shift.
So well said. Estate planning. You know, we're here. People are working really hard, working to amass whatever goods, assets. We don't know when our time will be that we are no longer on this earth. And so estate planning allows us to be intentional. So all of this hard work, you have your own business or you work 9 to 5, you get up every day, you're in the slog, you're doing your thing. And, you know, one day we're here, the next day we're not. We have all of these things. And if we're not intentional about where we want it to go, to whom we want it to go, that decision is made about our things without us. And so estate planning is really, really important because we have the opportunity to choose. And I think that it is, you know, a part of the information piece where it's like, okay, I have these things. I know how to now bequeath them to these beneficiaries. And once you see, it's something powerful about putting pen to paper. Once you see what you have, and once you see where it's going, it lights this fire inside of you to be like, I want to leave more for this person. I want to do more. I see this purpose now in my life to make sure that the hard work that I'm doing doesn't stop with me. It can continue in and through the people who I leave behind on this earth. And to an earlier point, legacy is, to me, is also not just about money. You know, like The Wire, Marlo Stanfield says, my name is my name. Yeah. And so, I am working hard for my name. I'm working hard for my daughter so that when she is, she's one, but when she is, that's okay. It goes fast. I'm telling you, but when she, gets older and she's in different spaces and I'm able to, bring her to different spaces, I need her to know that like she is in rooms where she is treated a certain way because of me. She needs to know that like the work that I'm doing, the hard work that I'm doing will allow her to be in spaces and say, my mom is Laura. And she is taken care of. She has everything that she needs. She's still gonna have to work hard because that's a legacy piece as well. But the transfer of the goodwill in my name, the goodwill in my actions, the goodwill in my relationships, that is very important for me to transfer as well as part of my legacy.
Powerful. How many, go.
Can I just add something
Yeah.
to that? Because what kind of lit up for me. So I have 2 daughters, but mine are older. They're not as young as yours. And what I always used to think when I was raising my daughters, along with my husband, but was about, I want to give these girls the most tools that I can, so that no matter what room she ends up in, wherever in this world, that she has the confidence, the ability. And so whatever it is, so exposure to community, do the education, go out and meet people, travel is a big learning. And to me, that's also part of the legacy. So to just add on to your point, because you want them to succeed, which is a key part of your legacy as responsibility as a parent. And maybe if you don't have kids, it's how do you impact your neighbor and how do you impact your community?
No, these are really powerful statements. What I was going to ask the group is, how many of you have a will? Show of hands.
Yo, you need more. Y'all need to do your wills.
Okay.
Well, you're young.
Life insurance kind of counts, but it's not.
How many people have life insurance?
How many people have life insurance? Okay, good. The value in your name and the value in your life and the value in the things that you are now in the process of acquiring will be taken away as Laura said, if a bus hit you today. And the government takes a whole percentage of what you've worked hard for.
And if you think of, look at Bob Marley.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Grab the mic.
How many very well-known people have died in what they call intestate, without a will? Bob Marley, Prince, Aretha Franklin. Think about that.
Yeah, we can keep.
And there's more. I'm just naming those 3.
Absolutely. Like, we can keep going for it over and over again, and we can give you the stories. The important part here is that you create a baseline for what your worth is, what your value is. And listen, your value is infinitely above and beyond a number. But you have got to start to understand what your number is and who you want to share that with. You may not have children today. You can always update a will. Yeah. You can't update it when you're dead. No. And I don't want to be too harsh, but I think it's really important that we start to get the fundamentals right. That's the way you're going to build legacy, right? If you don't have if what you have acquired today, when you die, goes on to a government or to some other system because you didn't plan effectively, part of your legacy is lost. Yeah. And that cannot be recaptured or recovered. It's super important. I feel very strongly about this. I had lots of conversations in my men's groups as well. You have absolutely got to understand this. It's fundamental. This is what other communities are doing. They are making sure that what they have acquired falls into the hand of whether it's their family or their community, and that perpetuates. We have got to start to get this right. And I ask every one of you, and listen, there are will kits out there for very low cost and whatever else. I'm not pushing anybody or anything, but you got to start to get this right. Start young, start early, and build from there.
So many things that I want to comment on, because I know we have to keep moving through the questions. But dying intestate.
Yeah.
So it's not just celebrities. We've seen this a lot in our families,
100%.
in our communities, and families fall out. Relationships are severed, deteriorated, because there's somebody in our family who has died intestate. And that's the legacy fractured, right? Because even if we're not just talking about money, assets being transferred, these relationships now, that part of the legacy piece is also fractured because people are stuck in this conversation around assets or even debts, because those are transferred too, because somebody has passed intestate. And to one of the latter points that Chris just made, when we're looking at what our neighbors are doing, and people in lots of other communities have wills, and that wealth is transferred, every time somebody in our community dies intestate and the wealth is not transferred, the gap between our community and communities that have this, done by rote, it's a well-oiled machine, that gap widens. And that impacts our ability to access services, education, healthcare, all of these things, because somebody in our family died intestate. These are the ripple effects that are happening. We have the opportunity, the people who have already passed, may their souls rest in peace. May we learn from the good things and the learning opportunities that we experience. We have an opportunity today to change the discourse of our family legacies. Regardless of what has happened, we have the choice. We have decisions that we can make. We just have to make them.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one thing. Basically, I lost someone in my life. My best friend's mom passed, and then when I had the conversation.
Can you just come to the mic?
Not the mic. Okay.
It's being recorded.
Oh Lord. Just want to make a point here. It's important to also ask our parents what their will is like. I found out. I'm the youngest out of 3, and I found out 2 or 3 years ago. Thank you, by the way. I found out 2, 3 years ago, I wasn't even on the will. I'm 35. My parents didn't put me on the will until about 3 years ago. They own a house. My dad thought it was some type of bega giving out people's information type of thing. And I had to explain to him that if you don't, the government takes it, and then we have to fight for it. And you've worked too damn hard in this country for we having to go to court to fight for something that you've earned. And that is the legacy you want to leave, not just for me, but for your grandkids. And that kind of put it in perspective. So if you could take anything from today in terms of will, they're very important. But also talk to your parents about it. Because 9 times out of 10, they're trying to think that it's probably not an important thing. And it's very important.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
sharing
much.
that. And I mean, you want to be tactful too, right? Because for all the Jamaicans in the room, if you ask your parents about the will, what's the first thing they're going to say? You want me dead, right? Like,
You want to kill me?
I don't.
I kill you, want
But
to kill me?
let's have a conversation.
It's also your wishes, how you want to be buried, when.
Right.
Right.
Let's pay for it now so that God forbid something happens, nobody has to worry.
Absolutely.
Thank
you so much.
Thank
It
you. We'll
was,
make sure we post it.
if it's in a will, we get to know how it is that you want to be sent off. We can honor your wishes. We can sort out how we can pay for it in advance, things of that nature.
And it's just before we even move on, I'm sure a lot of us have families in other countries who have property, who are not taking care of deeds and stuff like that. And it's so interesting because every other country, community, they are very serious about land. But in the islands, it's just like a soft thing. Like, it just, me nah fight over the house, can't have it. I'm like, what? One day, that could be a hotel. So the one little piece of land you don't want to fight over, that's generational wealth you're just throwing away. And like whoever, like, of course, like, all the squatters on the lands and stuff like that. But like, land is worth fighting for that people do not understand. That is a big piece of generational wealth that a lot of us in the room are like avoiding and not looking about. So when you get the chance, go on to Jamaica, find out where your deeds are at, have those tough conversations with your families, because like, pretty soon there's going to be a time shift in the next 10 years with a lot of our parents and stuff like that. We don't want to think about it, but it's something that we do have to think about now.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on to the next question. Yeah, I'll read the next question. What are some common misconceptions or myths about wealth building that need to be addressed? Yeah, go Troy.
I think one in our community is that black people don't work together. That needs to be addressed because unfortunately I've seen it many, many times again. If you put Loom, you put some multi-marketing thing on the table, we're all quick to throw up $50 to get into the pot, right?
And the partner.
And it always drops out. You know what I mean? The bottom always drops out. But I don't see a lot of us rushing to say, hey, I have 10 grand, you have 10 grand, let's go buy property together. That is, you know, like a lot of my brothers, now I'm just like, yo, like, let's get some money up together and build actual wealth together. So I think it just needs to be addressed because in my community where I'm from, and, you know, I'm not shading any other culture. I love it. But I live next to a mosque in Pickering, and everybody's buying up every single house that goes on sale. We're like the only black people left on the block. So in my mind, I'm like, what are we doing wrong? You know, why are we the ones not buying up the houses and the properties and stuff like that? Because what happens is we get our own little piece of money and we want to move. Man, I moved to Brampton, you know, I don't want to live next to sister, this, and. No, we should be buying up the communities together. It's an honor to live by the mosque, but I feel like it's not an honor to live next to my brother and my sister. We have to change that mindset. So I'm just saying that, like, thing that needs to be addressed is that we can't work well together. We can definitely work well together if we just put our mindset. Once again, it's a shift. I would love for my children to live beside y'all children and buy properties and houses together. That's what I want to see. I would love to see, you know what, man, I heard those 2 blocks are owned by the black people live over there. Yes, we live over here. We have the whole street. We have the whole community. So anyway, that's just something I want to put out there. We can work together on the right things together.
Other myths?
Yeah, I'll jump in. One myth is that you cannot build wealth working a 9 to 5. So there's a lot of nuance in that. I have done both. I've been an entrepreneur and I currently work 9 to 5. I don't even know where to start. Most businesses in the first 5 years, I'm going to say fail and then I'm going to qualify it. So failure, of course, is subjective. You have to kind of see what your metrics are, what your goals are to then see if you've achieved them or not. But whether you consider it a fail, I say fail because they close up shop and they move on to something else. You have to be armed with knowledge and do what works best for you. If you are an entrepreneur and you're like, yep, this is what I can do. I have a high risk tolerance. I know how to do business development. I know how to run a lean operation. I know that I have a little something, a little like nest egg tucked away so that I can draw from it if I need to. I maybe have credit. I have investors. I have whatever, then fine. If you are not a hustler and 9 to 5 is not for you, or excuse me, and entrepreneurship is not for you, then it's not for you. And you can be trying to hustle in this entrepreneur game and you don't like it, you're not good at it, and you don't have any money. And I'm not saying that to be trite. I'm saying that to be like, you have bills to pay. You have like a life that you want to live. And if you're so fixated on the idea of, nope, 9 to 5 is not going to get me there. I need to hustle, but you're actually not hustling, it's going to be a very miserable existence. And that legacy piece that you're trying to build, you're not going to build it. You're going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're going to, you might have, days where you're up, where you're making a lot of money, but then you'll have a drought. And that's, of course, if you're an entrepreneur or you're thinking about entrepreneurship, I want the very best for you. I want you to be wildly successful. But these are things that happen. And so I think that, that phrase, that idea that you can't get rich with a 9 to 5, you're going to make your salary. But what can your salary do for you? If you have information, if you can make investments, if you, if you have insurance and you can leverage it, or you can, whatever the case may be, you have options. But whatever your working style, your personality style, whatever you like, do that. Make good decisions, get good information, and the wealth that you're trying to build will come.
That's cool. No, it's very, very good. And I'll riff off of some of that when you talked about you have income. One of the myths that I've heard when I talk to people is, I don't have enough money to build wealth.
It's a big one.
So here's my question. I'm going to ask everyone in the room again. I'm a show of hands kind of guy, sorry. How many of you have a budget? Okay, a few, not everybody. How many of you look at that budget on a monthly basis? And how many of you adjust that budget? Okay, very few. Okay, this is critical, right? This is critical to sort of killing that whole idea that you don't have enough to build wealth. You start from, as I said, we're all in different places. And I was at a place where I felt that way, but when my wife and I, she's a planner, I'm not. But when we put a budget together and we started to see what our incoming and our outgoings were, and we had a plan and an idea of what we wanted to achieve and accomplish, there were sacrifices in that budget that then we had to make. So I didn't buy the Louis Vuitton belt or the whatever it was that everybody else was wearing in my office that didn't look like me because they had mommy or daddy's money or whatever it was. They had a different starting point. But deferred gratification was my idea, right? And sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. We want everything now, and that's not sustainable. And so I would encourage you all to budget, find those pieces of sacrifice where you can pull money out, whether that's putting it into a savings or an RSP or investments, as was mentioned, or whatever that vehicle is. You got to do the research on that. But money, you need money to make money. And once your money starts to work for you, then you can get to the place where your money's working for you and you don't have to be working so hard for money. But you got to start with a budget. You got to start with a plan. You have to plan. You have to budget. And you have to be patient. This is long term, not short term. And so some sacrifices are needed in that space. You can accomplish what you can accomplish regardless of where you are financially today.
So thank you. There's so many good points raised. I think there's two things that I would add. So there's one, a misconception about debt. So debt, of course, can kill you because you've got to manage your credit rating, right? But in order to grow, scale, in order to take a chance, and I'm not saying buying the $5 million house when you have zero assets. That's not what I'm saying. And to leverage yourself up to that point. What I'm talking about is sometimes, you can go and take a loan to then invest, and when you evaluate the interest out and the interest in, and that's a little bit of a risk that you're going to take, of course, risk appropriate to your situation, that's going to help you to build wealth. But this community, Canadian entrepreneurs, as I mentioned to you what I'm doing, I spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs. Canadian entrepreneurs fare lower. There are fewer champions in the Canadian entrepreneurial market than there are in any other region in the world. And part of that, other than the less depressed, part of that is because of our risk profile and mindset as Canadian entrepreneurs. And part of that also is knowing when to take on debt in order to scale your business. So that's an entrepreneurial thing, but it's also a personal thing, and take the leap to build your asset pool. That's what I would say. And I think the other one that perhaps misconception is that your bad credit, you're going to be able to outlive your bad credit rating. You will not. You need to pick up the phone to the credit agencies and work through fixing your bad credit rating, because it's going to hamper you as you move along, as you move through the years. yeah, you can negotiate. And sometimes you can negotiate very, very, very good deals. So to the point of shame that you raised earlier, forget the shame, forget about it. I'm a very realistic person, direct, realistic. You're in your situation, your neighbors don't need to know, but you need to fix it for you and your health, your financial health. So take everything that's out there to fix it, and fix it sooner rather than later. And then you'll be on your way. Okay, that's it. That's it for me on that one.
Troy said something that was really important about pooling your investment. That's a really powerful vehicle for building wealth when you don't think you have enough to cover whatever it is. And I think, Tania, you mentioned something earlier around, some people think that, buying a house is the only way to sort of really build wealth. But look at what's happening with house prices and with interest rates, right? It's become unaffordable. There are other ways to invest in real estate and in other things that will bring wealth, and actually some better multiples than some of those things where you may not have the buy-in, but you can pool, right? Build your community of trust. Those are really important things to do. Other communities are doing it.
Yeah, so I'll just say it's a very good idea, and I hear you. But I think, because it's like the elephant in the room. Well, I mean, maybe not, but our community, and we talk about this all the time in my friend group, family group. Our community, we don't trust one another.
I agree.
And I don't want that to be. I've been doing community work since my dad pulled me into it when I was like a toddler. And the things that you see, I'm a Montreal base, so I don't know the Toronto ecosystem, of course, as well. I know the Montreal base, and there's 5 million Black communities. And there are tons of Black people. It's not the largest percentage of population. However, if you really think of it, I don't know where you see it. I don't know where you see that pooling of resources in order to grow your community, because, you have people that don't even support their own. Right? They're not going to the Black, we call them dépanneurs, our grocery store. They're going to the Asian one, or they're going to the other one, but we don't support our own. And building wealth, so generational wealth, legacy, is also supporting your own. Agreed. So your point is valid, but I don't know.
I agree. Listen.
And maybe I'm a cynic.
No. You're not a cynic. I think that's real talk, right? And we came here for real talk, right? Okay. So some of that is a result of colonial mindset and thinking and segregation and separation and all the things we said. You're a small island and I'm a big island, so we can't talk, and all this nonsense. You're an African and I'm a Caribbean, and you sold me, and okay, let's just get it all out, right? Like if we're gonna, we're gonna get it all out. I think, because that's the mindset. It takes a mindset shift. As a man thinks, so is he. It takes a mindset shift, and there are people. But to your point, when I say pool and resources, you got to know who you're pooling with.
Yes.
There are things called contracts. Like you protect yourself against all of that stuff, and a like-minded person won't be offended by you saying, "We're gonna put this thing down on paper," so that you don't run off with the bag.
But you can't get to that point.
I think you have to be mic'd up.
You got to be mic'd. Can you come to the end here and I'll give you the mic?
Unless you have music.
I'll come to you. Sorry, I'll come. There you go.
We're talking about misconceptions, and I think it starts with what we see in our parents. How many parents are planning a budget together and not saying, hey, dad's paying for this, go pay for that, and mom's paying for this? If you're budgeting by yourself and you're a partnership, where is that money coming together? How am I supposed to go into a community and partner when I don't have a family, mom and dad living together under the same roof, and not budgeting together and coming in together to pull our money as a family and then move forward? So their misconception about what's going on in the families and why we can't partner outside of that is also addressing within the families. You're together, you're a couple, you need to budget as a couple.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you so much for that. I want to take, it's a great point. I want to take a step back, just because I know that we are running out of time.
Are we done?
We done?
Do I have 30 seconds? 1 minute? Yay!
1 minute, okay.
2 minutes. We got 2 minutes. We got
Can
3
we get
minutes?
three? Can we get three? Can we get three?
Okay.
Four? Can we get 5?
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, fine.
You want to ask me?
A step that, a point that Tania made earlier about you not outliving your credit score. The information, one of the questions that we didn't get a chance to ask was resources. What resources are available? You are your resource. You have a credit report. You should pull it. There's information on there.
100%.
You need to, when you see what that information is, if you don't understand it, you need to figure out how to, so that you can move past the shame, the vulnerability, have the curiosity, all that stuff, so that you can empower yourself to make sure that you don't have to worry about outliving your credit score. You are armed with the knowledge, and you have the intention to live a long life and have a good credit score. So
Equifax. You can pull it at Equifax.
pull it. I pull my credit
yourself.
report every year on my birthday. Happy birthday! But I pull it every year on my birthday.
We've got 1 minute, so what I'll do is we'll get final thoughts, 15 seconds each.
Go,
Okay.
Troy. Go.
50 seconds. Oh my gosh. So one of my W brethrens, you'll see him in the whatever, he wears a Walmart tracksuit, and he's like, you guys don't work together, but he's like probably the richest one of my friends, and the other brothers around him are popping bottles. So it just goes to show, he's like, yo, I do not care what I'm wearing. He's like, bro, I'm just telling you, you need to work together with your community. This is how I have my things. So me and my friends, we buy buildings together. We have a plane together. We have all these things together. It can work, but it's just a mindset shift and contracts.
So I'm going to pick up on my 15 seconds. I think we didn't talk a lot about spending, or we did and we did and we didn't, but you're going to, if you prioritize your financial health and your growth and your legacy, you will watch your spending. So what becomes important to you? And, you know, we may dress well, we may look well, really great, but what's in your bank account? And you need to be mindful. Someone may look great, but they may be fully leveraged and everything's on debt. Who's going to be better? So, you know what? Let's invest in yourselves and in your family.
We didn't even talk about being over leveraged, but no. So there's
another hour.
I know. We have just kidding. There's no. There are no sacrifices that you make right now that will not be worth it.
100%. That's I'm because I don't make noise.
Okay. Oh, too much grease on your finger. My final thought is two things. One is start from where you are at today. You are the change. I know there's stuff that happened in your family, all these other things. You can be the change that you want to see now.
Yeah.
That's up to you. It's up to you. You have a community around you. You have people there. You have resources. Use them. But the change starts now with you.
Can I say one more?
Me too.
Just one more. One more. Just really quick. Your financial health is going to give you freedom in the long run. Yeah. So sacrifice a bit today so that you may be able to retire earlier when you're well and healthy. So think about your long-term investment in yourself.
Really quickly, for any artists in the room, there are grants available. Toronto Arts Council, Canada Arts Council, Ontario Arts Council. There's Art Council. They give you guys grants, okay? So advance as well too. Just wanted to shout those out because that's a form of free money, okay? Lots of stuff out there.
Financial health is mental health. Helps you with your mental health. Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you.